Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to the two Davies, minus a Davy, but we've picked up a dragon. So I suppose we could say we're doing all right. Hey, we'll give you a couple of minutes to get on board before I batter into this. Obviously, I don't have David to bounce off today, and Madam Director's just there to make sure I keep the heat. So, to say, we'll give you a wee minute to get on board, and then we'll get into it. That's mine. We'll just get Facebook comments up. The Davies, minus the Davies to get on board. Hi Duncan. Hi Kevin. Hi Sandra. And here we go over here. We've got Chris, the last brave heart. Fiona. Fiona, I think you've been hacked. Because I keep getting messages for you, and it doesn't sound like the way you and I would speak to each other, Fiona. So I think you've been hacked. Anyway, afternoon, Stephen and Sunny Metal. Afternoon, Mr. E. Afternoon, Paul. What we got down here? Hi, Stephen. Hi, Rosie. Hi, Chris. Hi, Dale. Maggie. Now we got here Margaret Brand. William. Mev. Hi, Mev. Hi, Aggie. How's things, mate? And Eddie. Right, folks, as you know, Dave and I are running a fundraiser for food banks across Scotland. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can send a super chat via sticker on YouTube, or there are bank details where you can make a direct donation to the two Davies, the accounts listed and the details below. Okay. Now, I have to say, you have done extremely well since the account went live, and we're sitting at over £500. And when David gets back, we'll allocate the funds at the end of each month to suitable places around Scotland. Okay. Now, how are we doing viewing figures? We're almost there, so we'll get this underway. Are we ready to start, Madam Director? Go. Go. That's me. I've been told. I've got the green light, folks. Listen, I was going to get this, so I thought I'd better tell you, right? I was being a wee bit mischievous the other night there, because that happens sometime with me. Now, in the video, it was based on a parody account, but it was actually an idea that was floated a few weeks earlier, and the bit about the Lords talking about trying to get rid of Scots law by 2027 was also true. So I took wee snippets for the parody account because of something that Jack and Lord Orford was talking about a couple of weeks back, and I then took some truths and mixed them in. But I've been known to be naughty now and again. It's to make sure you guys are paying attention, and it appears you are. It appears you were. That's good. Well done, folks. Right, anyway. Right, that's the two Davies minus a Davy and plus a dragon on the 15th of the 6th, 2023. And first up is Labour's abstention in the Lords in the Kill the Bill debate on the Public Order Act. Thanks very much, John. Very generous of you. Now, on Tuesday night, the government was successful in defeating a so-called fatal motion bill, fatal motion move in the House of Lords on the proposed amendments to the Public Order Act. Labour abstained from the vote, triggering a fatal motions triggered by the fatal motions tabled by Baroness Jenny Jones. Now, Baroness Jenny Jones is a Green Party member in the House of Lords. Now, a fatal motion, if you don't know, is a rare parliamentary procedure that has a potential to kill off passages of government legislation and is the strongest opposition which can be taken in the House of Lords. Now, amendments to the Public Order Act 1986 would lower the threshold for police intervention on protests and empower police officers to impose conditions including changing times, locations and routes of processions and protests, and imposing noise restrictions, meaning you can't make a noise while passing through areas. Now, you know, Labour, they opposed this bill in the House of Commons, and they had a chance to kill off the bill in the Lords where they abstained. Now, their excuse for this was they were observing tradition. So there you have it, folks. public protest in England and Wales has just been quashed through the Public Order Act down that road. Labour had a chance to put a stop to it in the House of Lords and didn't. That tells you a lot more about Sir Comrade Starmer than you already know. Now, it would appear that Comrade Starmer is quite willing to quash your human right to protest, to gather. Isn't that fascinating? What an absolutely vile creature the Red Tory leader is. He also went back on another pledge this week, and all pledged 6 of his 10 pledges that he made to become Labour leader. And that is he's going to clamp down on immigration rather than promote free movement. The man's a monster. Power at any cost. And he's actually keeping Tory vile legislation in place so that when he's in power, he can use that legislation to stop any protest against him. Wow. Absolutely monster. Oh, and another thing, folks, well, we're on it. I see somebody saying they booked a ticket for Barrackburn. Sarah and I will make Barrackburn in the afternoon. We'll be going to the conference in the morning. The conference is split into 2 areas in the morning. The convention. Humza will tell us his vision for going forward, and then we'll discuss the way forward. In the afternoon, I'm going to be about a GE strategy. So we'll see where that goes. Okay. Right, moving on. Here in Scotland, we've got a new transport minister, and it's Mary McCallum. Now, she becomes transport minister, and this goes with the portfolio she already has as a minister as a net zero and just transition minister. Now, in order to help her be able to juggle both portfolios, previous government minister, Fiona Hislop, has been drafted back in as a junior minister, and she'll basically look after transport, and she'll report to Mary McCallum. I think that was a good appointment. Fiona's been round the block, and she'll be able to keep it young and straight because Mary's quite young. And if you're wondering who Mary McCallum is, she's the one who started the stoochy that brought this convention to place by saying on question time that the SNP were going to continue to carry on doing the same bloody thing, expecting a different outcome. In other words, they're going to keep begging for a Section 30 order. All right. So, now, in the reshuffle, after Kevin Stewart stepped in because of his mental health, in that the peer managing directors with Fiona herself, in that reshuffle, part of the net zero and just transition portfolio will be moved to Richard Lockhart and the business portfolio, and that has to do with the green economy. All right, so a wee bit of rummaging about as Humza reshuffles the pack along the road there after Kevin Stewart stood down. Right. Also, as you know, Humza's been taking some heavy flack for no suspending Nicola with the SNP. And I thought it was quite funny. We're getting the Tories up here, Labour up here, all screaming at Humza. Suspend her for the party after she was allegedly arrested. Right, that's that term that used to be known in journalism as assisting police with their inquiries. And of course, Nicola was released without charge, the same as the rest of them. And as Davies says, Police Scotland, if you're not going to dump, get off the pot. There's other people needing your investigation skills. All right. Now, of course, this was brought up at Prime Minister's question time because rather than suspend Nicola for the party being very, very pleased to have Nicola as a member, have sent her a bunch of flowers and told her we stand in solidarity with her. This is a woman that kept us safe during the pandemic, folks. Stood in front of us day in, day out and told us the bloody truth while that mob down the road were having piss-ups and lying to us through their teeth. But we'll get to that shortly, all right? Because as we motor through this stuff, One of the stories I picked up on this week was an outrageous story. Now, Sarah and I don't know very much about the benefit system unless we have to go and look into it for other people. But it would appear that parents under 25 with children get £75 a month less than parents over 25. Good point, Madam Director. It is disgusting. Because whether you're below 25-year-old or over 25-year-old, it costs the same to bring a child up. So why is this absolutely horrific difference? So if I'm 25 and I've got if I'm under 25, let's say I'm 23, I've got two kids, one at 1 and one at 3, and my sister's 26, and she's got two kids, one at 1 and one at 3. My sister, if she's on universal credit and I'm on universal credit, is £75 a month better off than me, just based on my age. Wow, this is absolutely nuts. The cost of childcare is the same, no matter what age you have your children. So why should universal credit be different? Absolutely nuts. And no wonder we get so many children living in poverty. When you're being penalised as a parent for being under 25-year-old. Mental. As I say, I thought I'd bring that one up because this is something that needs to be sorted. And the only party who's likely to be in a position to be able to sort this, believe it or not, is Labour. But Starmer's not going to do nothing. He's not scrapping universal credit. That pledge is out the window. He won't restructure it either. So if you're a parent under 25 and voting Labour, you'd be as well voting Tory. It's the same thing. The very same thing. Two cheeks of the one arse. And Starmer has proved it. He's as red a Tory as they come. Didn't he quash the Public Order Bill amendments? Thrown all his pledges out the window? Said he won't get rid of the Public Order Act, which bans public protest, more or less. He says he's going to let it bed in. The more I see of this Mr. Starmer, the less I like him. And now that Bojo is out the Commons, I would reckon the biggest liar left in the place isn't Rishi Sunak, it's Starmer. He stole a political party. The Tories have stole billions of pounds. Sir Keith Starmer stole a whole political movement and party. Wow. And now he's rewriting their DNA to be Tory. Anyway, that's interesting enough. Right, okay. Now let's get to Bojo the Clown, shall we? Bojo the Clown. Today, we got the publication of the report from the Privilege Committee. Absolutely stunning stuff. Now, of course, COVID bereaved are seeking an apology for Johnson after the Partygate report. You know, absolutely nuts. So it was in the report. Shall we have a wee look?
Aye, why not?
And there's paybacks. There's also calls for Johnson to pay back $245,000 of public cash he's had so far to defend himself against the Privilege Committee. Anyway, Boris Johnson would have faced a 90-day suspension if he was still an MP. After the inquiry found he deliberately misled Parliament over lockdown parties. In a damning report, the Privilege Committee said the former Prime Minister had committed repeated offences with his Partygate denials. The suspension would have potentially triggered a by-election to replace him had Mr Johnson not already stood down. Now, what's interesting about this 90-day thing? Now, as we know, Margaret Ferrier was slapped with 30 days, and David and I were saying Johnson, his punishment must be more. And by the way, this brings us to another interesting point, and that interest point is, where's Sunak in all this? Sunak was part of this and all. You know. So, it's got to be asked, why isn't the Privilege Committee looking into Sunak? And of course, the Prime Minister's question time yesterday, stammered the go at him with the honours list. But I mean, what privileges will Johnson retain after the findings and now that he's quit? Now, what perks will he retain? Well, he'll still have a parliamentary pass apparently, but they're talking about taking that off him. Right? He will lose his annual MP salary because he's quit as an MP, but he'll still be able to claim up to $115,000 a year in previous PM's expenses. He will be provided with personal security for the rest of his life. He will also have an official chauffeur-driven car for the rest of his life. Former ministers are entitled to public funding for support if they are sued over decisions they took while in government. So basically, Bojo's covered any legal costs for any crap that he performed while he was an MP. His annual PM allowance of $115,000 they were allowed to claim on, but no every ex-PM has claimed to the maximum of that, and it's believed that Liz Truss isn't got access to it at all. Now, as I say, he will also still retain his place on the Privy Council, believe it or not. So Johnson is still going to have a huge influence on public life, even though that he is a bloody liar, a proven bloody liar. And as I say, the report was pretty damning. He deliberately misled MPs, contempt of Parliament. He tried to keep key evidence for the committee, and his punishment, as I say, it would have been a 90-day suspension from Parliament. Now, the report also revealed two of the committee's MPs, the SNP's Alan Dorrans and Labour's Yvette Fobarage, wanted him expelled from the Commons, but were outvoted by the three Tories on the committee. Now, this, believe it or not, folks, because he quit, means that Boris Johnson will be able to stand in future as an MP. Thank you, Madam Director. That sort of sums it up. Aye. So, but that also brings us on to Nadine Dorries. Right? Now, Nadine Dorries supposedly quit as an MP, but it turns out she hasn't. I think she must have been drunk on Friday when she announced she was going to quit and thought about it over the weekend and changed her mind on Monday. But anyway, her excuse for no quitting is she's staying in the Commons to try and find out why she wasn't getting the peerage that Boris Johnson had promised her. For some reason, Mad Nads is the only person in the whole of the planet that believes Boris Johnson tells the truth. So apparently Mad Nads thought she was getting a peerage and it was Johnson that told her, but she was left off the list. But Aki's got a phone from Polis the other day. Anyway, what's interesting about Mad Nads is the by-election for Johnson and Nigel, I think Nigel Adams his name was, it's been called for the 23rd, between the 13th and the 21st of July. Right, now is Mad Nads going to stay in the Commons to these two by-elections are out? Give a wee bit of time for the Stushy Johnson to die down a wee bit. And I see he's still getting wads of support on the 5 Live show, BBC 5 Live, believe it or not. But is she going to quit in 3 or 4 months' time and clear the road for Johnson to get back into the Parliament by triggering the by-election? Would Mad Nads constituents actually accept Johnson as a candidate well, they accepted Mad Nads, and she's as thick as you know what in the neck of a bottle. So there might be a way back here for Johnson because he quit rather than face the consequences of the Privilege Committee. Also shows he's a bit of a bloody coward. Run away, run away, run away, run away. He's did this for all the jobs where he'd been lambasted and fired from. He's done it for all the women he's cheated on. Now he's doing it for the consequences of his actions in the Parliament.
I'm surprised he didn't run out of fridge.
He might well be hiding the fridge. He hasn't given any interviews since. He's made a few public statements, but he hasn't given any interviews. Naughty step for you, bro. Aye, okay. I haven't lit a candle, so you're not burn your arse. It's too warm to light a candle. It really is. So, it's quite a convoluted story. And of course, there's a civil war in the Tory party, apparently. So that's all the major parties except for the Lib Dems and the Greens, UK-wide, have got a civil war going on. There's a civil war in the Tory party. There's three factions, as we know. There's a civil war in the Labour Party as the left fight to save what little souls left within the Labour Party as Labour lurches further and further to the right under Sir Comrade Starmer, the Red Tory leader. And of course, they're claiming there's a civil war going on in the SNP. There might not be this week or next week, but there will be certainly next in the 24th. I'm coming to Dundee to have a wee word with them. Well, we're on the SNP and the so-called civil war in the SNP, which doesn't really exist. The Haggis on Twitter put out the names of the 19 people who made complaints about the SNP funding. Turns out none of them were SNP members. Isn't that interesting? Really interesting. I'm not going to read the list out, folks, but if you want it, the Haggis on Twitter. All right. Now, moving on, back here in Scotland, away from the debauchery and crap that's going on down in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, the Scottish Government launched a new 10-year cancer strategy. The aim is to cut late diagnosis and to eliminate inequalities in cancer patients' care. Now, the plan is to reduce stage 3 and stage 4 diagnosis by 24% by 2033. So, new cancer strategy to be put in place. So, I guess, in fact, I know that would have been part of First Minister's questions today. Because if you want to know what's going to be in First Minister's questions on a Thursday, folks, go to the Pravda website, BBC Scotland, the Pravda website, on a Thursday morning, and it'll tell you what it is that the SNP is going to take a pillar in there. So, if you want to know what's going to happen in advance of it happening, just see what's been set up in the Pravda. Talking about the Pravda, that's an interesting one. BBC Scotland's report in Scotland moves to Studio C at Pacific Quay, over the next couple of days. They've been in a temporary location, but now they've got an absolute mirror image of the BBC News studio in London. But it doesn't matter how fancy you make the studio, it's the crap that's being spewed out it. And I mean propaganda. Real propaganda. You know, according to the BBC, everybody here in Scotland's a failure. All of our institutions are failures. And all of our organisations are failures. And we're all crap at everything, according to BBC Scotland. BBC Scotland is not there to give you news, folks. It is there to depress you. It's there to undermine you and tell you that you're of less value than anybody else in these islands. Anybody. BBC Scotland exists solely to tell you you're shite. Your institutions are shite. Your government's shite. Your education's shite. Your councils are shite. Your health service is shite. Everything. Apparently we Scots are subhumans who can't look after ourselves. That's what BBC Scotland's there to tell you. That's what BBC Scotland's there to tell you. And when you're watching that crap and it's being beamed into your house in the evening, just keep that firmly fixed in your head that anything that comes out has to be fact-checked. Anything. And if you don't have time to fact-check it yourself, I would say you'd be as well looking at Talking Up Scotland with Professor John Robertson, because him and his team fact-checked absolutely everything that comes out of that crap manufacturing machine, which is Pacific Key along there in Glasgow. Okay. So, where are we? I suppose we can go into some trivia stuff before we move on to the nuts that's going on at the Bank of England, shall we? Woman I had a bit of respect for in the Labour Party, believe it or not, Glenda Jackson, passed away this morning. Now, Glenda Jackson was an actress first and then became an MP. Glenda won a couple of Oscars for a couple of movies that were made in the 70s. A Woman in Love and A Touch of Class. She also got umpteen BAFTAs and all the other bloody awards that are out there. In fact, the award centre for acting are quite actually extensive. She then became a Labour MP in 1992, and she was a thorn in the side of war criminal Prime Minister Tony Blair. She called him a poodle for joining the Americans in the invasion of Iraq, and she absolutely lambasted him for tuition fees. Glenda didn't really achieve that much in politics. She was a junior minister for a while, I would say, but, she just made Tony Blair's life a bloody misery. And that makes her a special person in my eyes and worth a mention any day of the week. Because that war criminal should be in jail along with Bush for their illegal war in Iraq to steal that country's resources. And this is exactly what's going to happen in Ukraine, folks. Aye, Gordon McQueen, I'll get him in a second. This is exactly what's going to happen in Ukraine. The Ukrainians think that the help that we are giving them is the generosity, the kindness and solidarity of people of like mind. It's not. Their country is being destroyed. And when it comes to rebuilding it when this particular war is over, they will pay with their resources and they will pay that debt back. And it will be UK, American and other NATO-wide companies that get the contracts to rebuild the place. And Ukraine as a nation is finished. But technically speaking, it never existed as a nation. It never registered its borders after the split up with the Soviet Union. So technically, Ukraine is still part of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union. Break up with the Soviet states. Ukraine didn't register its borders. Technically, it's still part of Russia. But, nobody seems to be bothered about the truth out there. The truth is the Ukrainian people will be paying for the rest of their life and they'll live in poverty and misery. As all this aid and weapons and solidarity that we've been poured into them will all have to be paid back. And it'll be companies and people outside Ukraine that profit from the rebuilding of Ukraine. All right. Let's move on to the madness at the Bank of England to continue. Inflation rates not coming down as fast as what they thought it would. At this point in time, halfway through the year, they say they'd be doing as low as 5%. It's still sitting at 8.7 and stubbornly not going any lower. Problem is, food price inflation. It's sitting at 19.7%. And some indexes and 17.8% in other indexes. But you've got to remember, food price inflation, that's a general. It's actually hitting different products to different levels. Like dairy products are up something like 25%. Eggs are up something like 38%. Bread's up something like 17%. The basics, they're all shooting through the roof. And that's keeping inflation high. So the Bank of England's answer to that is to keep bumping up interest rates and taking more and more out of the consumer's pocket. Now, as we've tried to, as I've explained before, we live in a consumer-driven market. That's how our market works. That's how our economy works, right? And the less money that's in our pockets, the less well the economy can do. Now, what the Bank of England's doing by battering these interest rates up is actually putting all our debt prices, our monthly debt payments up. So it's actually taking away disposable income. Disposable income that the population has to have to make the market work, to make the economy work. So the madness of the Bank of England doing what they're doing is a counterproductive. And food price inflation is keeping general inflation high, and it's going to keep it high because as we get towards the end of this year, as it's been explained, and the checks on goods coming in for the EU start, then EU people are providing goods to the UK from the EU. They're going to start with it saying, nah, no thanks, pal. Not going through all the hassle. At the moment, we've got the unscrupulous people out there shipping in whatever, and nobody's checking the stuff, and it's gone in our supermarket shelves full of nothing. But the Bank of England, they reckon by the end of the year, the bank will stuck interest rates up to 5.5%. Now, every time they do this, they stick mortgage rate, they stick 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, £200 sometimes on the price of people's housing. Remember, this doesn't just affect people with mortgages, folks, the hiking interest rates. It affects people with any sort of debt, and it also affects renters, especially if they're in private let, where it's a buy-to-let mortgage situation, because the mortgage price is up for the people who bought that let, and they're going to have to stick the rent up for the people who live in that let. So the Bank of England continues to help destroy the economy by taking more disposable income out of people's pockets. We've been through this many, many times when I was doing the Indie Talk Davies show. We Mrs. McGlumfer's no money. She can't spend it in the carpet shop. She can't spend it in the sofa shop. She can't spend it in the telly shop. Feck, she's not got enough to spend it in the supermarket to feed her kids anymore. But the idiots at the Bank of England, well, they don't really know. They don't feel it. It's not making any difference to their lifestyles, eh? All relative. We were talking about under 25s on universal credit getting £75 a month less than those who are over 25. It's going to affect young parents as well, which affects the future of the children coming through. The economic model we work on is absolutely madness. Absolute madness. We rely on those young people coming up to keep us when we're old. And yet we put economic policies in place which stunt their life chances. Madness. It's time to rip it all up, throw away, start again. That's why Scottish independence is important, folks. That's why we have to keep our eyes on the prize. We have to force the politicians here in Scotland to do what we want them to. Because we can't condemn our children to a future under these economic illiterates doing that fucking road. We can't. We just can't. Scotland is one of the wealthiest nations in the planet. It's the 14th wealthiest nation on the planet if we shed Westminster. At this point in time, the UK is about the 22nd wealthiest state on the planet, and the 7th biggest economy on the planet. Which is interesting because the latest figures out for HMRC on regions of the UK, Scotland's outperforming everywhere. Last year, according to the Office for National Statistics and HMRC, Scotland's exports grew by 17.7%, whereas our UK's export, taking Scotland out, only grew by 13.5%. We are outstripping them. But that money's gone to the Treasury down there while your children go hungry. That doesn't make any sense. By the way, these figures don't include oil and gas. They never do. So, Scotland is absolutely trouncing the rest of the UK. And what was the other main figure there? Aye. So Scotland exports up 17.7% the year 22-23. That's for April. And the value of Scotland's exports also increased to the Treasury to the tune of 27%, believe it or not. With alcohol and foods being the main drivers. Scotland's commodities continue to be worth more than commodities elsewhere in the UK. So we've got to dump this lot. A, for England to get a grip and get their health, but B, for the sake of your children, because the economic model being driven down that road is a failure. An absolute failure. And we'll get insular politicians in the UK who are looking at, I mean, Brexit's all about keeping Scotland where it is. They're becoming insular and centralised, taking powers away from the devolved settlements in order to make sure that the devolved peoples can't have a say. But absolutely nuts. Right, where are we going with this? And as we say, food price inflation is keeping inflation generally high. The Bank of England are still using the same stupid ideas. And according to the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, read the report this morning, he says it's the only thing they can do. Wow. Okie dokie. Right, move on. City AM tells us that US confidence and investment in the UK has dropped markedly because of Brexit. Now, there is an index they have where it goes 1 to 10. And the UK's confidence in the US, that's went up to 8.7. There's a story behind that we'll get to in a second. US investors' confidence in the UK fell from 7%, 7 odds to 6.4. And what the City AM is saying is that the American investors are not investing in the UK because of political turmoil and economic illiteracy with Brexit. They don't hold their cares, they don't pull punches, these people. They're telling us it is. They don't want to invest here in the UK. They are investing in Scotland, by the way. That's why your exports and commodities are doing so well, and the Treasury doing that roads benefiting from it rather than our future children. But this comes the back of Sunak's visit to America to sign what they call an agreement on economic alignment. The very truth is that when he arrived in America, he was told two things flat. He was told, no, don't even ask for a trade deal, you're not getting one. And the other thing that Biden told him was to get Stormont up and running. Apart from that, Sunak's trip to America was nothing more than that. A wee Sir John to get out the road while the Bojo crap's hitting the fan. Is it just me, or does Sunak seem to disappear every time there's a second of controversy? Because that seems to be the case. And some other plebs sent out as a human shield. Right. And there's been another blow to London as well, the city itself, as another one of the world's major corporations delists for London and lists in New York. In this case, we've got Wee Soda, the biggest soda production company on the planet. And they said they didn't want to, they were delisting, they weren't going to list in London because they wouldn't be able to raise the funds because UK investors just having to go only investing at this point in time. So the firm Wee Soda would have been undervalued here. So they've joined they have joined Arms Holdings and CRH in moving the listing through the London stock market to the New York stock market. This has gone on all the time. But we're not hearing about the smaller companies that are doing it. We're only hearing about the massive ones. And so business-wise, London's taking it down. As a world financial centre, it's starting to lose its prestige. And it can all be laid firmly at the door of Brexit. City and the American investors have made it quite clear, not coming here. Your political system's madness, and there's a lot of political turmoil, and you're economically illiterate. When you have people in London who are so economically illiterate that they voted for, if you have people in government who are so economically illiterate that they wrote a book leaving the biggest trading bloc on the planet, people are going to look at that and say, I'm not putting my money there, they'll lose it. They're too stupid. And there seems to be some truth in that. They are economically illiterate doing that road. For the Bank of England to the government, a whole lot. And as we know, the economic model's busted. Right. Moving on, back here in Scotland, today there'll be a bill introduced to the Scottish Parliament to create buffer zones around abortion clinics. Now, the bill will be introduced by Green MSP Gillian McKay. Now, is it a good idea? I'm going to leave that one up to you. As there's no stymieing protest here, they're just moving it so that the people who need to use these services are not inconvenienced. So they're basically saying you'll be so far back. And they're probably a couple of 100 yards so the people who are entering and leaving the facility and whatever circumstances that they're going to these facilities can go to them in peace. I imagine when somebody takes the decision to terminate a child and they're already in a bad way, the last thing they need is people on their face telling them that they're murderers and tapping all the other problems that they have. I saw the UK draft the AA and all, but Scotland would have a treble A purse when it comes independent. So that bill's to be brought before the Parliament. It will get its first reading and the first vote on it in Parliament will be in October, alright? How are we doing for time? Oh, we're getting there. Right, let's move on to First Minister's questions today, shall we? Douglas Ross went on John of the A9, and of course, that was set up in the Pravda this morning. And Poverty Pie was chasing ambulances as usual with criticism of the 10-year cancer strategy. You know. So, apparently Drosket's Bahookie kicked her as multiple jobs. The real truth behind the A9 is some of the areas that they want to do, well, you know, they're pretty difficult to do that. You know, the landscape, the cost to get through the hillsides, by cutting away hillsides and things like that. Very expensive. But the real reason why it's gone so slow is engineers don't fancy the task at the price they've been asked to be done for. They just don't. They don't think it would be done for that price. And as our budget is limited and controlled from elsewhere, to be fair, the money's not there either. So, Dross thought he was getting an open goal, but as usual, him and Sarwar got the Bahookie scalp. Even Humza can give they two a scalp, and let's face it, they're a pair of diddies. I can give them a scalp. You know, never mind. Never mind Humza. Absolute nuts. Right, moving on for the farce that is the Punch and Judy show in Holyrood to a serious matter here. And that is people behaving themselves on the internet. Apparently, police are investigating 2 death threats against SNP MP Joanna Cherry. Folks, if you're too stupid to be able to safely operate a keyboard or a telephone, put it bloody down. Behave yourselves. Oh, fairies, what about fairies? No, fairies didn't get a mention today in First Minister's thanks, Robert. If you can't be civil, you know, you can do spoof parodies and everything, make it comical. Can't you threaten people? Can he do that? You certainly can't make death threats. And remember, folks, when you're using your computer, whatever you put out there is subject to the 2003 Communications Act. So be very careful what you put out there. You can find yourself in very hot water. David and I know this. We're a wee bit, although we can seem like loose cannons, we actually know what we're doing. A very good friend of yours and a few friends of yours are journalists. They keep us right. The best bit of advice they gave us was don't join the National Union of Journalists. Which is fair enough. I have to say that wee nugget was a brilliant piece of advice. Because it means David and I are not held to the same standards as journalists. But as we know, looking at the Pravda here in Scotland, there isn't any journalistic standards. David and I are better at the job than they are. We probably put more research in to what we do than they Muppets. They Muppets at the Pravda is Pacific Key get told for MI5 and the rags what they're reporting on. They're being instructed on the daily SNP bad Scotland shite stories. Wow. So, that's a good rule of thumb, Margaret. If you wouldn't say it to somebody's face, don't type it in the computer. You could find yourself in hot water. This is an important one, folks. I mean, I take a fair bit of stick on social media, but hey, I put my head above the parapet, I expect to be shot at. You know, that's the way it goes. But death threats, folks, behave yourselves. Yeah, when you send me death threats, I'm not sending Police Scotland to you, I'm just going to laugh at them. No, Madam Director. Or I might even set the dragon on you. You know. Absolutely brilliant. So, they're basically the stories that I've drawn up to talk about. Well, we've still got 13 minutes to go. So, as I say, that last one's very important, folks. I mean, you've all seen me do a dinger and blow my tap and go off on one. The Davies rants. They're all pretty well thought out before I go into them, folks. I've got my target sorted out, I've got my facts right. Even if I do sound like I'm shouting like a loony. I am shouting like a loony, but the information's correct. You know, so it is important when you're using social media, be careful. Another one that was interesting this week, of course, was Police Scotland statement that we out here in social media land have to be careful what we say about the SNP finances case, where other journalists or those who are National Unionist journalists members can say what the bloody well want. And I see you in the Jeremy Vine show, they had somebody from Scotland on, and we were talking about support for Scottish independence going up, even though the SNP are supposedly taking a whacking in the polls. I doubt that very much for help. In fact, we've seen the SNP start to climb in the polls again. But and the once in a generation thing was brought up, you know, again. And that it was just an argument with some woman that was on the Jeremy Vine show. Here's a wee news flash to all you people south of the border. Bojo's no deed in a ditch. Once in a generation, I'd rather be deed in a ditch. Just crap, throwaway lines. And democracy doesn't stop at one vote. It doesn't. That's one of the reasons why I'm confident that Scotland will become an independent country. Because we're going to keep voting until we get the answer we want. Mm-hmm. And the answer we want is what the kids want. And 68% of them in the last poll says they want it. And it's our job as adults to get them it. It's our job to get our eyes on the prize and start driving our political leaders to do what we elect them to do. You know, I'll be at that meeting on the 24th to put my tuppence worth in if I get a chance to speak. As David has already put a post out there this morning saying it's probably going to be structured, very structured. You know, the SNP are going to try and take control, the hierarchy will try and take control of the agenda. I'm not going there to disrupt the agenda. I'm going to make sure that agenda fits the needs of the people. Not the party, the people. People before party every time. And that's important too. Now, we elect these politicians to get us out of this bloody madness that's called the UK. The state that is the UK. Sorry, Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The UK is something different. Only England and Scotland are involved in the UK. Because the rest, the other constituent parts, are the kingdoms. And the United Kingdom only affects Scotland and England. Because they're the two United Kingdoms. But, as I say, we elect these people to get us away from this madness, this broken economic model, this depraved state of affairs that we find ourselves in, where one government after another steals from the public purse, squanders our money, and makes us poorer. We got a Bank of England destroying the economy to get something stupid and fictitious done as inflation. You want to negate inflation? Dead easy. The headline rate of inflation right now is 8.7%. Give everybody an 8.7% pay rise. There you go, inflation's no longer a problem. Something like that. I think that was Professor Richard Murphy that pointed that one out, actually. Can't he take credit for these things? But aye, so what we go into comments? Oh, here's a cracker. I just seen the word unionist there. Unionists here in Scotland are not having a good few years. There's a foreclosure. A foreclosure warning being issued for the Bristol bar in Duke Street, which is a unionist bar. And the Orange Order, of course, they're that poor that they've had to put their headquarters up for sale twice. They sold their headquarters in Glasgow for 220,000, I think it was. And they bought a new headquarters in Motherwell for 140,000. It's now up for sale because they can't afford to refurb it and run it. So it's been a bad week for unionists. Their drinking hole in Duke Street's about to get foreclosed on, and the Orange Order are having to sell their headquarters in Motherwell after having to sell their headquarters in Glasgow because they couldn't afford to run that thing anymore. They bought a place in Motherwell when the idea was to deck it out as a function suite, bar and restaurant for orange people who want to enjoy themselves. I'm sure that would have included Mr. Trump. You know, but as it turns out, they couldn't afford to do the place up. So it's been, according to the advert for the sale of the Orange Order's headquarters in Motherwell, it says it'd make an ideal pub, diner, restaurant and function suite. Oh, you can make it up. But I'm no, it's in the papers. Madam Director, you behave yourself. Anyway, that's nearly the first 1 hour. Viewing figures are fantastic, folks. Now remember, if you're on YouTube at this point in time, please hit the like button. That's very important. Hit like. That opens up more features to us. If you're making donations to the Food Bank Fund, I'd like to thank you very much.
So much.
So very much. Times are going to get bloody harder as well. And, you know, we all have to do what we can for the communities of Scotland and the people of Scotland. We really do. We're just talking about how parents of kids under 25 are getting less money for parents of kids who are 25 under the universal credit system. It's nuts.
It's disgusting.
And these kids are already in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So anything you can do to help. And they say at the end of each month we'll tell you what's in the pot and where it's gone. And it'll all be electronic transfers, so that at the end of the year you want to see the statements, we'll put them up.
Right.
We'll do a financial breakdown. Davies already got an accountant involved in running it for us. You'll get a financial breakdown of where your money went. And these have been fantastic so far. fantastic. You've supported so many already. You know, you've helped folks in Drumchapel, one of the biggest housing estates in Europe, where poverty is rife. You've helped people here in North Lanarkshire with the baby bank. You've helped people here in North Lanarkshire with Paul's Parcels, which is a food kitchen. And we hope to be able to help lots and lots of more people with your assistance. Your generosity has been unbelievable since the account opened. 178 in for the super chats and 300 odd for you guys direct. You know, it's absolutely fantastic, folks, and it's bloody well necessary. It really is necessary. It's heartbreaking to think that we're having to do this, but you guys remember anything that you can. And if you've not got it, don't dare. But if you have got it and you do help us, and even just hitting the like button and keeping us on the earth helps us. But you know, you're feeding so many hungry people. And it disgusts me to say that we've got people gone hungry. Wow, and we thought we grew up, well, we didn't think we grew up in poverty, we didn't know we were poor. You know, didn't occur to us that we were poor. But this is 2023, and a quarter of children in Scotland are living in poverty, a quarter. And in England, a third of children are living in poverty. If that doesn't tell you the economic model's broken and what the effect does, you know, what does? Anyway, I'm going to start rounding this one up. Today's show has been brought to you by Andy Truck Davy and the Dragon, stroke Madam Director. Thanks very much for joining us. That's the first solo one under out the road. I hope it went well. I'm not sure. I'm a wee bit rusty on the solo things. Aye, well.
He's been well behaved because I've been sitting here. He's not been shouting and he's not been swearing.
I have been swearing.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
I'm not
Unblock your ears.
Maybe I'm not paying attention.
But anyway, see, that's the first one out the road. You know, I'm used to doing solo shows, but it's been a while, so I'm a bit nervous. And Sarah will tell you, I know you guys won't believe this, but I pace about an hour before I go live. I'm as nervous as hell. And so is Milligan. He didn't believe I was nervous in the past when I was doing the show for the truck. But I am. So, thanks, that's the first one. I know you like her aunt. You'll get one when one's due.
When I'm not here.
But Madam Director's got me on a leash today, so not a lot I can do about that. But now, if you're on YouTube, please hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. And remember, whether you're on social media, Facebook or YouTube, when the show is finished, please share across your social media platforms. If you think this was informative, if you think it was interesting, then please share it across your social media platforms. Right? Now, this has been Davy and the Dragon on the Two Davies channel. And if you liked us, as I say, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share across your social media platforms. If you're on Facebook, give me a couple of minutes, because Meta is restricting me, which is that's an interesting story because I went into Professor Lee, the guy that invented AI says it's no dangerous, and he works for Facebook, believe it or not, Meta. Just a wee aside there. Anyway, as I say, if you like what it is we do here on the Two Davies channel, then say like, subscribe, share across the social media platform. If you don't like what it is we do in the Two Davies channel, then we're the Rishi Sunak Appreciation Association. I just stole that one from Milligan, alright? So I've just invented my own tumbleweed instead of his tweet. Right, so as I say, that's it for the new. We are 59, so you got your route after all.
You say bye, David?
Oh, aye, I forgot to say. Bye, Davy. Oh, he's not here.
Bye, David.
Bye, Dragon. Catch you later, folks. Bye, now.